This is Lincoln Calling's Innovation Programming, and you're about to learn how to make a podcast. What's up? My name is Nick Castner, a Lincoln Calling staff member. Lincoln Calling is a nonprofit music festival that takes place in Lincoln, Nebraska. Since 2014, Lincoln Calling has transformed the streets of downtown Lincoln into a week-long celebration of music, art, and culture. My role with the festival is to organize the entrepreneurship and innovation programming that take place every year at the event. Because of the pandemic, we are moving all of our events and programming online. This week, we're giving a preview of what's in store for our main event while announcing the artists that will play in October. Head on over to lincolncalling.org to check out this year's lineup. In my day job, I host a podcast called The Commonwealth and partner with advertising agencies to make podcasts for their clients. When we were brainstorming different ideas of online programming, I thought it would be fun to get all my Lincoln podcasting friends together to teach others how to create a podcast. If you have ever thought about starting a podcast, this video is for you. The first thing to think through when launching a podcast is the format and idea of your show. For that, I'm going to pass it over to registered dietitian, professional foodie, and podcast extraordinaire, Amber Pankinen.
Hi everyone, I'm Amber with the Healthy Under Pressure podcast. One question that I get a lot is, how did you develop your show concept or idea? I'm going to share with you some advice that a mentor once gave me about book writing. She said you should write the book that you want to read. So I took the same advice and I applied it to podcasting. Selfishly, I wanted to listen to a podcast that was featuring entrepreneurs talking about their health and the emotional, physical, financial, spiritual challenges that come along with being an entrepreneur, and again, how that impacts your physical health and how that impacts the health of your business. So again, selfishly, this is content that I love. It's content that I could go back to week after week and get really excited about. So I would encourage you, when you're picking that show concept, it has to be a topic that excites you, that drives you. Again, you're going to be the one in the driver's seat having those conversations, so make sure it's content that you're excited about. Secondly, I would say the more focused you could be with your show, probably the better. I know that you want to attract your ideal customer to your show, so the more focused you can be in doing that, probably the more successful you will be in your podcast. I hope this helps. Good luck with your podcasting journey. Please let me know if you have any questions.
After thinking through the idea of your show, next you'll probably need some equipment. For that, I'm going to pass it over to my former boss and iTunes chart topper, Brian Ardinger.
Hey everybody, and welcome. My name is Brian Ardinger. I'm the host of Inside Outside Innovation. You can find us at insideoutside.io, where we host a weekly podcast on innovation and entrepreneurship. And I'm here to talk a little bit about podcast equipment. To get started in podcasting, you don't need a ton of specialized equipment. You don't need a mixer board. You don't need all of that kind of fun stuff. You have it, great. But if not, you can really get started with just a decent microphone. What I've used in the past are these Yeti Blue mics. They're about $100, $150. You can use sometimes out there, and they're not too bad. Pre-COVID, when I was out doing more live stuff, I would use one of these Zoom recorders, tie it to a shotgun mic, and so we could do roving reporting kind of stuff. And that was a really good option for when you want to record outside in the real world. A couple of other little things when it comes to recording. Sometimes it's good to have a little pop guard to stop that annoying stuff. But for the most part, you can get by with a USB mic, decent quality headphones so you can hear what's going on, and opportunity for better conversation. Really, quite frankly, that's all you need. Have fun.
After getting your equipment, take some time to read the instructions and get familiar with the device. Once you're comfortable with it, it's time to start recording your content. It's best to record in a quiet place with as little room noise as possible. Things like air conditioning playing, dogs barking, or a TV in the background distracts from the content of your show. As you do this more, you will pick up nuances that affect the quality of your audio. Things like leaning away from the microphone or being in a large room that causes echo are all things you kind of learn as you go. My pro tip is the closest space to a studio is squeezing in your closet. So have fun. Most podcasts include music, either at the episode start or dramatic portions throughout the content. YouTube offers a list of free music that you can use at absolutely no cost. To find that, just Google YouTube Music Library and the list should pop up. To find music that's either better quality or specific to your show, you can hire someone off of Fiverr, you can buy a song off of Audio Jungle, or you can even find a local musician and have them make something exclusive for your show. Once you have the music decided and your first episode recorded, it's time to stitch it all together. There's a bunch of different softwares that help you do this. Adobe has one called Audition that is made for music, is the most powerful, but is also the most expensive. Descript is one that is made for podcasting, allows you to edit the sound like you would edit a Word document. Audacity and GarageBand are two services that are free to download online. Whichever one you pick, there are thousands of YouTube tutorials to teach you how to make your podcast sound professional. Once you have your content ready, the easiest way to get it on all the major podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, Stitcher is to go through a podcast hosting service. A podcast hosting service allows you to upload the episode one time and it'll manually push it to all of the different podcast players. Similar to the editing software we just went over, there's a range of price and quality when it comes to podcast hosting. Libsyn is the oldest and the most powerful, but it is also the most expensive. Anchor is completely free. However, it is owned by Spotify, so trying to get an Anchor podcast on Apple Podcasts can be very difficult. I have used Buzzsprout and it has worked pretty well for me. Regardless of the hosting service, it can take Apple up to 2 weeks to approve a podcast and list it in the podcast library. To circumvent that waiting period, I would suggest making a short 2-minute long episode that gives your potential listeners a preview of the content of your show. Then upload that 2-minute trailer about 2 weeks before you want to release that first episode. That gives all of the podcast players plenty of time to make your show live on their platform. Now that your show is ready to launch, it's time to grow your audience. For that, we have the Chief Marketing Officer at FireSpring, Angie Kubicek, here to give tips and tricks on marketing your podcast.
Hello, my name is Angie Kubicek, and I am one of the co-hosts of the ROI of Why and the soon-to-launch Purpose Marketing Playmakers podcast. I'm going to share 5 quick tips to help you up your marketing game and promote your podcast. So if you're just starting with your podcast, the first thing you're going to want to do is when you go to release your podcast, make sure that you upload at least 3 episodes out of the gate. We're in a culture of binge watch, binge listening, and this will help you kind of pull in those key listeners to get them to want to subscribe and listen on to your future episode releases. The second thing you're going to want to do is as you record your podcast, immediately think about what are the 15-second sound bites you can leverage to promote in social media to put that teaser content out there. The third thing you're going to want to do if you're leveraging guests on your show is to tap into their audiences. So provide your guests the sound bites, any cover images, videos that you have, pre-written content that they can use to promote the episode that they're going to appear on to their own social media networks. The fourth thing that we recommend doing is to submit your podcast to different aggregators that are out there like Stitcher, Podcast Subreddit, Podcast Addict. That will really help you kind of quickly extend your reach and to pull people into the throes of your podcast. And then lastly, make sure you're networking with other podcasters. This is going to help you identify great ways to connect with your audience as well as provide your audience aligned content that's going to draw their interest. And this will also help you then tap into some of those more established audiences to introduce them to your podcast. But most importantly, when you go to promote your podcast, just remember to invest as much time into distributing your podcast content as you did creating it. Follow those quick tips and you should have a successful podcast strategy.
Lastly, transcribing your audio into text is an effective tool for podcasting. There's online tools out there that allow you to upload your audio file and it'll spit out all of the words spoken on your show. By posting that transcript to either your blog or website allows people with hearing disabilities to consume your content. It also gives people a better chance of finding your show. Search engines like Google are getting better at reading and understanding audio files. However, if you post a transcript, it ensures that Google can crawl and understand the concept and content of your show, and then will rank your show higher when people are searching for those topics. If you have any more questions about launching or creating a podcast, do not hesitate to reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram by searching Nick Castner. Thank you so much for supporting Lincoln Calling, and we will see you at the event in October.